if you're finding a problem in Miami, I have not heard of that. What I will tell you though is I wouldn't change states. I would change towns in South Florida. There is so much to like about Florida. I'm looking at this chart right here. This is actually a really kind of an interesting one. The housing boom, the blue line, was pretty mild for the country when you compare it to the state of Florida, the black line, and then this crazy green line, which is Miami-Dade. So you can see big, it all started around the same price, but the country peaked at 190 and Miami-Dade peaked at 300, right? So, and then look at this cliff, down it comes. So you've got this massive fall off. What happened in Miami at that time was not just what happened everywhere else, but Miami went crazy developing new luxury real estate. That was right around here, and then down it came, and it came down pretty sharply. It stayed down. It's been fighting its way back, but it sounds like Alexander is starting to see signs. He says properties are expensive here, and too many are on the market. So, yes, I would consider waiting, or I would consider going west. Go west, young man. Fort Myers, Florida. Okay, Lee County. Some things on the Gulf Coast north of Tampa. Things on the Atlantic coast north of Daytona Beach on the way to Jacksonville. Or you look at some of these bigger cities that are not bedroom communities. Jacksonville, Tampa, and Orlando are just big southern cities. The average age in those cities is under 35. Their industry is real. They're driven by universities. They're driven by commerce. And so you can get a nice solid yield in those places. If I go to, I think it's Duval County is where Jacksonville is. All right, so look at the green line here. Now, Jacksonville is very much like Charlotte in that it is not, it's kind of like, it's in Florida, but it's not like the rest of Florida. It's just a city on the water. And so they had a boom, but not as high. See, the black line is Florida, so it wasn't as volatile as the rest of Florida, Jacksonville. So if you take that beginning, carry the line, split peak and trough, carry it forward, you're right kind of about there. And so I'd stay in Florida, and the reason is that Florida, you asked about are there tax laws you should be aware of. Well, the tax law you should be aware of is that there is no state income tax in Florida, which is why you stay there. All right, population is migrating into Florida from everywhere in the country, especially the big population centers up in the Northeast. It's not slowing down. When the economy is good, people move to Florida. When the economy is bad, people move to Florida. All right, the quality of life, cost of living, the coastline, it's got more coastline than any state, except maybe Michigan, which people don't know. Savannah versus Charleston. Savannah is a port city south of Charleston. And the story behind this came from me just reading and knowing that the Panama Canal expansion, I don't know if you know about this, let me give you a minute of this. So Panama Canal is opened in like 1914. 100 years later, the kind of ships that could fit through the Panama Canal, none of the big ones could. So the big ships, the ones that carry 5, 6, 7 times the cargo, were landing in California. 2016, Panama Canal got wider and deeper and now can fit those new post-Panamax ships, they're called. So now the shipping lanes across the globe are totally being redrawn, and anybody who wants to get goods to the population centers in the Midwest and the East Coast, it's probably cheaper to keep them on the boat. So Panama Canal is making all these port cities get a big opportunity to grow. But Savannah did something really interesting. Savannah is a limited port, but because of the second part of the trend, they've done something different that's really powerful. The trend is changes in logistics and shipping. Amazon, same-day delivery. The idea that you are, in the future, probably not going to go to the store to get a gallon of milk. Your fridge is going to know you're out and it's going to show up. And being able to deliver everything same day means they have to have warehouses that hold things really close to everybody. So all the big population centers in the upper Midwest and the Midwest and down to Texas, all the way down to the East Coast, they're all getting a big push of investment, industrial investment and shipping investment to get more products and service closer so that when you order a new charger for your iPhone from Amazon, it's already only 10 miles away, right? There's a big Amazon distribution center not far from here. It's as big as a mall. And I realized one day when I was looking at it, actually it is a mall. You just don't go inside, right? It's got all the stuff in there. You just don't go pick it up. You just order it up and they bring it to you. What Savannah is doing is they've been investing in rail lines to get the stuff from the port out to the cities. They just announced something big where they're connecting with St. Louis. All right, so they have a massive rail spider web going out and a main line connection to St. Louis, which will get them deep into the Midwest and allow them to reach everything in the Midwest. When you see these kinds of shifting plates of Earth, You can make a bet on it. You could buy stock in Amazon. You could buy stock in the port company, or you could buy real estate in Savannah. I'm making a big bet on Savannah. Population growth. Look at that green chart. Different states, so different black line, same green line. Unmistakable similarities. The whole SFR world piled into Phoenix. Phoenix is taking all the people that are sick of paying the high taxes in California. Look at their chart. It's wild, right? Wild ride up, wild ride down. This is what attracted a lot of the capital because it was nosediving, fought its way back. It's right on schedule. People say there's a bubble in Phoenix. People who say that, I want to slap, but I understand it's not their fault. All they're seeing is the part like where my cursor is. They go, that looks like a bubble to me. To me, it looks like the end of a recovery. It went too deep during the dive. It caught back up to the trend line. It's been fighting its way back, and I think this trend is fine because if I go all the way back, I ride the trend line. Trend line throws me straight across the peak and trough, right across the middle. I keep going. It just caught up. Don't listen to the people who say there's a bubble. And if you're in Phoenix, if you show this chart to people, are you going to change their mind? Like if you set up a table and say, there's no bubble in Phoenix, prove me wrong. And you show someone this chart. If you go to the Chamber of Commerce and say, I want to show you the ROI of Phoenix, I want people to know that there's not some big housing recession coming. Oh, it's just like 2006 all over again. No, this is not like 2006 all over again. If this happens, believe me, we'll know it first, but it's not happening. So the reason I showed Minneapolis and Phoenix is that the trend line is the same, but it was less volatile. Okay? And Minneapolis happens to be a place where none of the big institutional investors are, for the most part. Only a couple. No one's got big positions in there. 4.5% appreciation rate. You know, it had the boom, it had a little bust, it fought its way back, but it looks damn rock solid right there. Seasonality, evident as can be, right on this chart. Spring, winter, spring, winter, spring, winter. Load up in the fourth quarter. You know why the big institutions didn't buy in Minneapolis? Frozen pipes. They didn't want any part of frozen pipes. But when I show them this, it's like, you wish you owned Minneapolis for the last 6, 7, 8 years, don't you? They're like, yeah, I guess we do, right? Look at the population growth. Who would have thought the population growth chart in Minneapolis was steeper than Phoenix? Phoenix's value is self-evident if you get past the bubble nonsense. But Minneapolis is apparently not self-evident. Look at that population growth. What is it about Minneapolis? People love it. People leave and they come back. It's so damn good that even though it was 27 below when I was down there in February, people don't leave because it's so good. And then job diversity is also pretty rock solid. Professional and business, trade, transport, education. Jesse, Minnesota is both the hardest place to get corporate relocations to move and the hardest for corporate locations to get people to move away from. Yeah, you're right. I didn't want to move to Minneapolis when Renters Warehouse bought my company. They didn't even ask me to because I was happy in Charlotte. But I could see people saying, oh, Minneapolis is cold. Then they go there, they see what the people are like. That's really the selling point, right? It's like going on vacation to Ireland. Besides the booze, it's the people. Probably more than the booze, it's the people. Minneapolis is the people.